quite mixed feelings about Repli-Kate. Certainly, the premise sounded amazing. It's about a scientist who accidentally clones a woman and decides to take this as the opportunity to create the perfect woman in a man's eyes. So a woman who loves football and being a bit crude and drinking beer and burping, and just somebody who is a bit more of a man than a woman, which first of all doesn't make sense, because why would you want a woman who is a man if you're looking for a woman? I don't get it. But the execution, at times it was okay. I feel like sometimes the characters' actions were unbelievable, and I feel like the narrative direction kind of took a direction that I wasn't that pleased with. I'm not particularly happy with the character of the replica and the way that she was programmed to respond and react and say things. There were two funny moments, two moments when I genuinely laughed out loud, and I appreciate those moments because it made it all more worthwhile. But for the most part, I didn't get it. I'll tell you what those funny moments were at the end because I don't spoil it, but for the rest of this there won't be any spoilers. So this was released in 2002. It does feel quite dated, but that tends to be the case with films based around technology, just because of how quickly technology advances. Directed by Frank Longo and written by Stuart Gibbs, and it stars Ali Landry as Kate, who is our replica. And I have to say I really liked her performance, because obviously she's playing the real Kate and the replica, and I think she plays both similarly enough that you can tell they're from the same person or the same entity, but different enough that you can usually tell who you're looking at on screen. So I have no problems there. I don't have any issues with any of the acting. And for the most part, they get to know the clone, and the clone gets to learn about life because she doesn't necessarily have all of the information she needs on social etiquette, and that has some pretty troubling consequences. But it was alright as we got to know her, but once we kind of knew more about her, she just started to irritate me because she was just basically being like a stereotypical man, which is something I didn't really see the point in. And it's a very sex-driven narrative, which if you like that, that's fine, but it's not something that I want from a film that's not being advertised as that. For example, this I thought would just be a nice look at clones and the problems that it would cause. But when I saw afterwards that it was from the producers of American Pie, I thought, yeah, I can see that. So there are a lot of sexual references, and basically this Kate is just a sex machine, and that's kind of what she's been cloned as. And first of all, that's exceptionally offensive to women and completely lacks any respect. But at the same time, she's shown quite a lot of lack of respect to the men. So it's a bit of an odd setup there. But the other thing as well is that she's just constantly talking about sex and beers, and I just don't see the point. There are times when they think actually maybe a woman who acts like a typical man is not the perfect woman, and they kind of learn, and there is some decent character development, but I wasn't really interested in the outcome or the development of it. I didn't think the execution was brilliant. So would I recommend it? I think I would. Mainly because I like films about cloning, no matter how bad they are, because I just think it's an interesting concept. I will never watch it again. But if you like cloning films, I would say it's probably worth the go. Certainly if you like things like American Pie, it's like a really cheap version of that in terms of humour. And for the spoiler bit, I will tell you the two bits that I like, so if you've seen it and you want to know what I laughed at, I don't usually find crude humour that funny. I prefer wit or very decent comedic timing. And this is exactly what happens here. So my two favourite bits, the first one was when she stood up in the middle of the restaurant and shouted, "Who wants a blowjob?" I just loved the randomness of that, and if that happened in real life, it would be disastrous. And I loved it at the end when the guy at the lectern just started going, "Penis, penis, penis, penis." Again, not a particularly big fan of penis jokes, but just because it's so ludicrous, it kind of tickled me quite a bit. So yeah, it's not an awful film, not the worst film. Could have been a lot better, but decent enough.